I'm Candice and I'm definitely an alcoholic.
Candice.
I'm anxious, but I'm on step 2 at the moment, so I'm coming to believe that there's power greater than myself. And, that's going to restore me to sanity. And when I sit in this room and I look around at all these faces, you guys are proof. We can be restored to sanity because I'm not out there drinking, I'm not out there causing damage. And what I've not recently learned, it's taken a while, is that I don't need alcohol to behave like a muppet. I can use anything outside myself if I'm not working my steps. I've always overlooked step 2. It's always been 1, 3, and it's never really been an important step. And I was hoping, the way I was planning in my mind is that I'm going to share and I'll be on step 3, and it will be powerful because I will be in the faith and letting go and no, I'm in the insanity, sharing my step, like my 13 years. Shit. I'm a teenager, so I'm awkward, I'm hormonal, I am all of those horrible things that teenagers can be, growing into myself in recovery, and it's such a blessing to be able to be here. I didn't think meetings would be a long-term thing, honestly. I thought when I came into recovery, it was a quick fix. Recovery was like, I'll do it for a year, maybe 2, and then I'll get on with life. And I've tried that. I've tried it my way, and by the grace of God, I never picked up. But I always kept coming back. In whatever states I came back in, I came back. And each time I've had to come in extremely humble, which my ego doesn't like. I'm an alcoholic. It's all about me, and that's what my life was about before I came into recovery. It was always about Candice. It was always about what Candice wanted. Didn't really care what other people wanted. I cared what they thought, kind of, but not what they thought, probably what they thought about me. That was more important because it involved me again. So my life, I come from your average, I don't have a dysfunctional family. I used I did find reasons to blame them for the way I am. I'm a middle child. My brother, is a lot younger than me, and he's I'm not even going to talk about that because today I don't have that perception. I always made myself special and different. At school, I had a lot of fear. I always wore masks. I didn't know how to fit in until I started wearing masks, but I still never really felt part of. My dad, I didn't know, he stopped drinking when I was 2 years old. He went into his first treatment facility. He didn't do it through the rims. I'll share about that later because it comes back into my journey. But there was never alcohol. It was never. My mom hates alcohol because, she's typical Al-Anon. She hates alcohol, and there was never a family that drank around me. It wasn't a party at my house every night. It was very structured. I'd get pulled out of bed and taken to school, had family holidays, had a normal upbringing. But for me, it wasn't normal. For me, my thinking was not normal. So I started looking from a young age, for things to control, things to make me feel better. I started stealing at the age of 6. My uncle moved in with us for a brief period, and he used to keep these 5 Rand coins in his drawer in his bedroom. And I'd go in and I would steal the 5 Rand coins. And eventually the coins would get less and less, and I think no one's noticed. And I think he did because he nearly stopped putting them in there, because eventually they were all gone. And I would deny. deny everything. And my mom always used to say, tell the truth and shame the devil. And I'm like, I am telling the truth, you know? But I wasn't. I was so dishonest and delusional that I could get away with it. And that pattern carried through with me until I came into recovery. With the stealing and getting away with it. You know, I stole many things from my folks, and yeah, I thought I got away with it. You know, and that's, hitting a blank. My sister always achieved really well at school, and I didn't. I couldn't focus. I was never really interested in being at school. It was all about the party and the fun. And so I scraped through school. I managed to matriculate. I don't know how, because by then I was sticking to the drugs. I was sticking to the drinking. I picked up my first drink. I thought I was 13. My best friend, who's still in my life today, I actually spoke to her yesterday, and she told me we were 11. I've said for years I was 13. And you know, that's the type of alcoholic I am. I don't think. I don't acknowledge things. I just do. Not thinking of the consequences. And yeah, I'm going to share about my first memory of when I actually felt like that was my first drink. We were out at a New Year's, we were 13, and I was away with my best friend, and we were drinking. You know, her parents were so cool. They let us drink. They let me smoke, but never let her smoke. But they let us drink, and they were the coolest parents ever. And we went down to the beach in Cape Town on the Strand, and there was a massive New Year's party, and we found a group of teenagers, and there was a guy there, and obviously Candice starts flirting and wanting attention. So eventually I disappear with this guy on this beach that's packed with people, not thinking about my friend, not thinking about the family that's supposed to be looking after me, you know, not having any responsibilities in life, not caring. And later on, when I managed to stumble up the hill, I found my friend on the sidewalk crying, and her dad started to walk down furious. And I was like, what's going on? Why are you behaving like this? I'm here, I'm fine. She thought she'd lost me. She thought I'd been kidnapped, you know, all the worst case scenarios that one naturally goes to. Not me. I don't think of worst case scenario. I think of the fun, you know, and the moment of being in oblivion. And I got pulled up and we got shouted at, and yeah, I never really held that as a pinnacle point, because it wasn't. That was my pattern from there on out. That's what I would do. I would disappear. I'd go out with friends, I'd disappear, and I'd carry on drinking, because I was all about more. I needed more. Nothing ever sufficed me. Even though I did blackouts, I'd wake up from blackouts and continue to drink. I did start using harder drugs. You know, I was always running away from home, and still there, but eventually I couldn't keep up the facade anymore. You know, in my late teens, I couldn't hide that I'm an alcoholic. You know, I had obviously had no idea I was alcoholic, but I couldn't hide that I was drinking. I couldn't hide that I was using. Everyone knew. I then by miracle finished high school and had no idea, had no goals, had no dreams. It was all about the party. And my mom suggested I go into beauty, and I was like, okay, cool. You know, I did things briefly in moments of guilt where I'd make others feel better, so I'd do what they said. But I couldn't ever follow through because I was never actually willing. I found in recovery, when I'm willing, I follow through with things. And when I'm doing it for others, it's like a cupboard of unfinished projects. That's how selfish I am. And sure. Also, I had an issue with relationships, outside fixes, like I shared. I would lose friends, I would go into a relationship and my friends would be non-existent. I would leave a relationship and I'd, manipulate and fight my way back to get friendships. It was always about my fix. Whatever I was fixated on in that moment in my life would be a priority. Didn't care who I hurted. And by the age of, it was crazy because the World Cup is happening and it's in France. And I actually shared it the other day because I completely forgot. My parents had to fly back from France from the World Cup because of my behavior. And like that's a big deal. Because it meant nothing to me back then, but shit, like they overseas, they're trying to live their life and they've got me to deal with, I disrupted everybody's lives. My gran was looking after us, she was furious with me. My sister was always trying to mother me, hence I carried a resentment for a long time, thinking she was trying to control me. And no one could manage me because I was so unmanageable. I was at beauty school, carrying on like a muppet, drinking, going on days I thought I needed to go, just maintaining surface level. Until I fell pregnant, and I fell pregnant because I was irresponsible, no care in the world, and my partner at the time, it was all his fault. For years I've sat in blame, and in recovery even, of the decision I made. I had an abortion and I blamed it on him. I went to my mom, I asked for help, and it went against all my morals. The morals that I found that I have today. And I held her hostage. I told her not to tell my dad. And I held her hostage. I held my family hostage for many years. Whew. I don't know why I still get emotional about it. Because it's wrong. I think because I'm a mom now, went in there. Afterwards, I went into a downward spiral, and it was all about the drinking. It was nothing to do with college. It was all about drinking and using. And by then, I was seeing psychologists, psychiatrists. I was on those little mind things that you put on your head and computer, and that works for some people, but I'm an alcoholic, it doesn't work for me. And I felt pregnant again. I justify, I was on the pill. I was also on copious amounts of alcohol and drugs. And made the decision, to keep my daughter. And today she's 15 and a half, and yeah. Whew. I'll share about that later. I've gone through a journey the last 18 months. She was 2.5 when I came into treatment. It was my third treatment facility. First was a psych ward because I'm depressed. I was given labels because I was incapable of being honest with the psychologist, and was put onto medication that I never took properly, and if I did, I took copious amounts of it. I was in that facility because I tried to kill myself, in between falling pregnant with my daughter. My second treatment facility was in 2010. I think it was June. Yeah, it was June 2010. And then it was for, it's called Drug Dual Diagnosis Unit, DDU. And just before there, I just want to share, I actually knew I had a problem and I reached out for help, and my mom said, there's a meeting that we can go to, it's at this treatment facility. And I was like, I can't do it alone, will you come with me? And the information that we got, we rocked up and we walked down and walked into this room, and it was a group of parents. And I sat down, and it was called the Tough Love Group, which today is known as Al-Anon. And I sat down and I heard all these people talking, and I was like, shit, because they were talking about me. I couldn't handle it. I got up and I left. But my mom stayed behind. And, that's God. Because she needed to stay behind because I manipulated her to be my biggest enabler. I used every single defect that you can think of to manipulate to get what I wanted. And I don't know why I'm so emotional. And today, I'm so grateful for that moment, because that's when everything started to shift. Candice, I got pushed into a smaller and smaller corner until I reached the point where I was put into that second treatment facility and was exposed to the steps and other meetings. And Candice did what Candice does in a relationship, in treatment, getting involved in a relationship with a married man. And manipulating friends to bring drugs into the facility. And no one knows about it, but everyone knew about it. Because my friend actually, after giving me, my other friend that visited me, because then I still had friends, like a little bit left, was shouting at me, how can you do this? There's people here with problems and you bring me drugs and I did not give a shit about other people. It was all about me and my fix. It pushed me to a point of, realization that I need to stop. And I asked to go into a halfway house. And I went into a halfway house that was probably a kilometer away from my parents' home. By that time, my daughter was living with my mom. I signed over custody to her. My ex-relationship was what I attract. Toxic, abusive, I attract those things. I'm attracted to those things. I'm attracted to the sick. And so he wasn't in her life. And I never once went to go, the school was, so it's a kilometer up the road to my parents' home, and the school was a kilometer that way. Not once did I think, let me go pick her up, take her to school. Let me go pick her up from school, spend time with her, school fees that my parents paid for, Did not think of that. I was incapable of being a mom. And ended up relapsing with the dishonest relationship that I was involved in the treatment facility, and still claimed my 30-day chip. So dishonest. And I ended up disappearing and running to a far place and I lied to the facility of where I was at, and I was at a bar. I said I was going to sleep with my parents. That next day I came back to the halfway house, and everyone knew, obviously, because my parents had contacted them. They knew, people know, I think I'm so clever. And when I came back, there was an intervention for me, and I got two options, a rehab in Cape Town or a rehab in Durban. And I thought, okay, Durban's closer to Joburg, so I'll go to Durban. It was one of the first amazing decisions that was given to me, because I was put in a treatment facility in September 2010, where I hit my rock bottom. Because when I was put in there, I still had control. I still thought I could possibly do weed on the beach. You know, that would be lovely. So delusional. And I need to abstain from everything. This is a program of abstinence. And no mood or mind altering substance will fix me. It was my solution to stop the way that I was feeling. And in that treatment facility, I hit my emotional rock bottom. You know, and I'm so grateful for that and for the people around me that helped me reach that point. Back then it was a different story, because I was like, you're deflecting, you are just as bad. I can look for so many reasons to point out all your faults because I'm incapable of taking accountability of my own. And while I was in the treatment facility, my dad, like I mentioned, had stopped drinking when I was 2 years old. By that time, I was 22. I had my 23rd birthday in treatment. And I got a phone call the one evening that my dad had started drinking. And they were taking him to a facility in the mountains. And I was like, no, he needs to come here. He can't go anywhere else. He needs a solution. Because it's given so amazingly at the treatment facility I was at. And a couple of days later, my dad came into treatment and I had to make the decision to move into Scotland. And I remember there was one night that my dad arrived and I left the next morning. And we sat with someone today, you know, that's no longer with us. He actually ended up committing suicide, which is what happens. It's a lot that I've gone through being in recovery in these rooms. You see a lot of death. You see a lot of sadness. And for me, I use it as a drive to keep coming back, because that can be me. And he asked me about his Kruger ad. And now I need to be honest, I'm fresh in recovery. He asked me, did you take my Kruger ad? And I sat there, I was like, shit. Now I've got to be honest with family, not just with my sponsor and others around me. Now I've been put on the spot, and every time I was put on the spot in the past, no, deny, even though you've proven guilty, deny. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I knew it. So what I did with that amends is my gold 1-year coin I gave to my dad at his 1 year. You know, and for me, those are the biggest gifts that recovery has given me. My journey's been for 13 years. Okay, I better start. I think I'm going to focus a lot on the last 18 months because a lot has happened in my recovery. If you give me a suggestion, I will not do it. I will try it my way first, and then I will do it your way, because obviously my way doesn't work. So I got involved in a dishonest relationship in my first year. I justified it, I'm young. Like, how can you tell me not to get involved in a relationship? Even though the evidence is all there that I am extremely unmanageable, my defects and the way I behave as an alcoholic in a relationship is disgusting. And here I am trying to become a productive member of society 5 months in recovery, and I think I can handle a relationship. I tried, you know, and it's an example that I've never heard of before, and many people that have been involved in dishonest relationships in their first year have failed. I'm just putting this out there, because he is my husband today. And I've sat with many people that have come to me and spoken to me about dishonest relationships. I get the experience of what not to do in recovery, and then I do the next right thing. By the grace of God, I've never picked up. There's many times I should have, because it's all about my behavior. It's all about that selfish thinking. So I've been married now. We've been together for 12 years. I've been married for 9. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Relationships with me are hard work. I can't take inventory. I'm very good at taking other people's inventory. Especially being married to another alcoholic in recovery. I have expectations. I have lots of expectations on how you should be working your programs. And sometimes it's been bad. We've gone through 2 separations in our journey together, in our marriage. And the separation that we're in at the moment is not chosen. It's not a decision we both made for our relationship. And it's been the most rewarding in a sense of it's given me time to do my steps again. Because like I said, I'm on step 2. But I miss him, which is crazy. It's not crazy, because I learned what love is. It's unconditional. It's not about me. It's messy. Relationships are hard work. Like I said, because I'm hard work. And so first milestone share that he's not at. He's working in Cape Town, and I'm really proud of him. I'm really proud of the sacrifices that he's doing for our family. And we were able to go visit him last week. Have an amazing time as a family. And I'm extremely grateful for my husband, because he does call me out on my stuff, and I hate it. And I'll phone my sponsor, but in reality, I shared about it the other day. It's like, I give him the ammo. I'm the one that makes the bullets and goes, yo. So I give him ammo through my own behavior. And I can't blame him. I can't deflect from my own behavior. I can only work on myself. And in our relationship, I got my daughter back. At 18 months sober, I got my daughter back. And what I did with that was I put my recovery aside. Because I thought, now I've gotten what I need. I've got my daughter back. I can focus on being a mom. I can focus on family. And I put my recovery aside. And I got into a mess. Because I stopped going to meetings, I stopped phoning my sponsor, I stopped doing my inventory, I stopped being in recovery. And I'm an alcoholic, I can never do that. I can do that, I choose to do that, but ultimately, it doesn't end up well. And in that time, my sponsor fired me. Well, she didn't really, actually. I didn't use her. I fired her, selfishly, because it was selfish. And then I realized, I need to put my recovery first, otherwise I'm going to lose everything again. And I started taking her to meetings with me. I took her to bars with me. I took Chloe to every single dodgy place I went to, she came with. The things that I did as a mom were horrible. The situations I put her in as a baby were shocking. But that's a little bit of step 5 stuff. I held on to that guilt for a long time. And in the last 18 months with Chloe, She's gone through a journey. We've gone through a journey. And my journey's been all about powerlessness and realization as a parent on how powerless I am over my child. I cannot fix her. I've tried. I did. It started on her 14th birthday. Where I discovered the cuts. It's summer, January, really hot, and she's walking around with this big hoodie. And yeah, she was cutting. Chloe's gone. She's always been a misunderstood child. Never really wanted to come out with us. She hardly had friends at school. She really battled at school, and I tried my best as a mom. Last year, in a period of time, I beat myself up thinking I could have done more. I could have done more. I could have seen the signs. I could have changed it, and I can't. I can't go back and change her journey. I tried my best. I've let go of the guilt of the coulda, shoulda, woulda, because it doesn't carry. What I can do with that is make a difference from here on out. And I used that guilt and shame in the last 18 months to fix off, because I started using outside fixes. First, it's fixing people around me, focusing solely on them, doesn't matter how I behaved. And money. I got myself into a lot of debt. 12 years in recovery, a lot of debt. Looking for that outside fix, not working my program, not going back to the steps, not speaking to my sponsor about it. Speaking to her, but the half-assed truth, because I'm still in control. I'm still able to fix the situation, and maybe forget nice things along the way. And in that time, my husband was retrenched, which I thought, okay, I can fix it more, I'll earn more money. Trying to fix everything and not relying on God at all. It was all Candice as well. And I reached a point a couple months ago where I couldn't do it anymore. I can't. Because the fixes stopped working. The spending and going out and food, like that stuff doesn't fix me. Relationships don't fix me. My marriage was very rocky last year. Because of me, no one else, or because of decisions that I've made in recovery. And I took myself down a dark hole and I dragged people with me. Sober. By the grace of God, I didn't have the desire to drink. But I did go into a space of suicide, because that's what my disease does. My disease wants me to run. My disease doesn't want me to take responsibility for my actions and humble myself enough to change. And I was ashamed to share about that, because you're not supposed to think about this stuff. You're in recovery. You're not supposed to have this type of thinking. You should have your shit together. You should be working your part. You should be the perfect example. I'm no example of not what to do, but then always doing the next right thing. I'm an alcoholic. That's not going to change. It doesn't go away. If anything, I don't want to scare people, but your disease gets stronger. One of my first meetings that I sat in, there was a saying, while you're in a meeting, your disease is outside doing push-ups. So if you're not in a meeting, your disease is going to gym every day. And so the more I stay away, the more overpowering my disease is, because I'm not in the solution. I'm not amongst the sanity Because that's what restoration to sanity is you guys. You guys sitting here in a meeting showing me that it's possible to stay sober for today. That's what restoration of sanity is. It's another alcoholic helping another. And when that's not my primary focus, I'm insane and I'm all about me. And I'm not believing in anything that's a higher power. You guys are a higher power. There's so many beautiful descriptions of my higher power that I've gone through in my recovery. And one of the first things was the fellowship. Because you guys were staying sober. You were living life, you were restoring family relationships, you were getting jobs and holding down a job. I can't do that. And that's what kept me coming back, because I wanted that. I wanted to live a normal life that I never thought I could achieve. I wanted the white picket fence. I got it. I got the white picket fence. Didn't make me happy. This program makes me happy. Living in the solution makes me happy, not those outside things. I'm very happy to go back to my bachelor pad in my first year, down the road here, and be happy now. I live in a 5-bedroom house. It's got plumbing issues at the moment. Literally, the roof is caving in. It's gifts. It is gifts, but it's not the gifts I choose to aspire to have anymore. The gifts are restorations of relationships, of solid friendships, of good career, being the best mom possible, even if it's from a distance. I had to make the decision to move my daughter to Johannesburg because she gets better care there. She gets better mental health care in Johannesburg and better schooling. I had to not make it about me. I had to make it about her happiness. And it's been hard. I go through acceptance days and I go through, this is not my life, this is not how I see my life. But it's God's plan. And God's plan happens for reasons bigger than I know. It's not about me, it's about others. It's about Chloe's journey, it's about my husband's journey, it's about my son's journey, it's about my friend's journey. It's not about me, And I'm so grateful that I've realized that, because I was stuck in all about me for so long. And I reached the rock bottom a couple months ago, and I've got a new sponsor that I reached out to, and it's incredible how I met her, because 12 and a bit years ago, I met her here in Scottsboro. She'd come down with another person in recovery, and I just got fired from my sponsor. Because my sponsor fired me. I phoned her up and I owned her dishonesty, and she fired me. The reasons later on were very alcoholic, and it kept me in resentment with this individual for a long time, because I was like, she fired me for exactly what she did, and I sat in it. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it doesn't matter. There's no mistakes. I'm an alcoholic, she's an alcoholic. I cannot put anybody on a pedestal, not even, especially not myself. I need to be at the bottom stair, and work my way up through the steps to alcoholic that I can carry a message to. And this woman came into my life in a time where I was quite vulnerable, and she helped me for 2 weeks. And I reached out to her a couple months ago, and then made the decision to ask her to be my sponsor, and she's hardcore. She's like, okay, cool. She's the Sister Fellowship. She's made me do basic text study. Not made me do, she suggested. I won't make you do anything with suggestions. I decided it's a good thing. because I don't know what I'm doing. So when I follow suggestions, then I'm following the solution. And I went through the basic text study with her, and I restarted my steps. I phone her every day, whereas 18 months ago I'd phoned my sponsor and I was like, oh shit, I better phone her just to show face, because I was running on self-will. I wasn't reaching out, I wasn't being honest, I wasn't using her as a sponsor, which is selfish. Like, she's taking that time to be my sponsor, and I owe her immense now. I'll get there, I'm still on step 2. But using her just to keep going, just to show face, and that's not what recovery is about. You're either in the boat or you're out. And I need to be in the boat. I can't be leaning off the side, hanging on the edge. I need to be doing my step 10s. I reached a point like, I've got a certain amount of clean time, I don't need to do step 10s. They're step 10s, by the way. Because I take a personal inventory every night. And I didn't do that for a long time. I thought laying there, taking an inventory in my head was enough. But it's not. I am a very... What's the time? Have I gone way over time? Oh shit, I'm going to stop now. I do my step 10s. I go to my meetings. I sponsor other women. I'm doing my steps again. I work on my relationship with my higher power as best as I can. I'm in the restoration path at the moment. And I try to the best of my ability each day. Some days I don't get it right. I'm not perfect. Alcoholics are not perfect. I'm yet to find a perfect alcoholic. I'm yet to find a perfect human being, because everyone's perception on perfection is different. But what I'm grateful for most is my growth, because it's brought me to a place where I can now find hope and be released from that complete powerlessness of despair. Hope is hold on, pain ends. There's a post that popped up this morning, and then I was doing some step 2, and it's hope. I was like, oh shit, and it's exactly where I'm at. And that freedom about the share, the reading, the daily reflections, that's all God. All these little things that pop up of exactly, if I'm looking for the solution, it will find me and I can use it. So yeah, I'm really grateful for my journey. And there's so much more that's happened, but you have to come back for next year by the grace of God. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.